Boys, Keon Coleman. All right, we gotta have a conversation here. All right, because it's not even Keon, because I think Keon is going to be a good player. My problem is just like the wide receiver in the first round thing. I'm just so off of that personally that when I see these mocks, I'm like, oh god, here we go. Like you can find a good wide receiver past the first round. Look at some of the top wide receivers. I mean, Devontae Adams and Justin Jefferson, I would argue, and Tyreek Hill, you can even throw in there. None of them were top 20 picks. The other, actually, Justin was in the 20s, and then Devontae and Tyreek were both past the first round. So let's keep it a stack here. Like, you don't have to have. You're not going to get Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., Brian Thomas Jr., given he doesn't fall Rome Odunze. So just trade back and get someone that's productive. That's where I'm at. Where are you guys at with the Keon Coleman stuff? How would you react if Keon Coleman was the pick?
Well, go ahead, Boone.
You can go. You can go because I'll follow off here. I'll follow.
I would say, well, Jeff, now that you just said all that, now you know the Lions are taking a wide receiver in the first round. Man, that's just going to be I wouldn't be surprised. I'm with you guys, like, especially as much as I love Xavier Legette. If they took him at 29, of course I'd have a smile on my face, but there would be that taste in my mouth where I'm just like, it's a little premature. You could have traded back to at least like pick 40. You know what I mean? He'd still probably be there. But at the end of the day, fellas, I told you, and not like telling you guys like per se, but if the Lions do this, it's not a move for 2024. But that kind of goes back against what even Mike was saying, where it's like they're in a win now move. But if they go and get a wide receiver in the first round, he's going to be their wide receiver too. But it brings upside of having a potential T. Higgins, Jamar Chase in 2 or 3 years, which I think Brad playing at 29, taking best player available, maybe that's his mindset. Then go get a need in the second round, and then go in the third round, get your defensive end. But if they were to go like wide receiver, Max Melton, and then probably somebody that we wouldn't know about in the third round as far as the defensive end, maybe Mohamed Kamara, I wouldn't hate it, but it's not the worst draft. But to your guys' point, it's a little early.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I mean,
I'm in a similar boat. And two, I think, and I know Gentry was someone who early on, and me too, one of the drafts that I did early on before we went to the combine, I had Keon Coleman going to the Lions at 29 in one of the mock drafts we did on Mondays. And then when we got to the combine, obviously, I changed my mind a little bit. And then I did get to the point, and Lucas, and you guys talked to me, hey, think about the on-field performance with that. That's where, to me, it's more so, to your point, Jeff, like a Brian Thomas, like those guys that are kind of a different level. I think Keon's going to be really good in the NFL. Like, I really do. But getting him in the first round, unless you're getting a guy that has that potential to really be your number one, do I think Keon can do that? And he has that ceiling to do that? Yeah. Do I think he will on the Lions with Amon-Ra and the offense you have? Probably not. And JMO? Probably not. So it's, I don't know. Like Lucas said, you could trade back and get more value for a Keon Coleman. And it's probably the same thing with the Xavier Legette as well, to where you could probably trade back 10 spots, get some more draft capital, try and get another pick in the top 100, do something like that to where you can get more draft capital and you still land that same guy and kind of take that chance to where, again, fellas, it's a deep wide receiver class. You can get someone in the second, third round if you need to, and he's potentially going to give you just as much as a Keon Coleman would, because that's what you need. You don't need a number one right now. That's not where it's at, unless it's like already a guy who's established in the league, in my opinion. So I think you have to trade back if you're going to go Keon Coleman, if you're going to go Xavier Legette, get value out of it at least. Do that, because if not, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go get Darius Robinson, who just went to the Ravens. I'm going to grab him, and then I'll go in the second round, and I'll go get our wide receiver, who's going to be the number 2, number 3. That would be my plan.
Yeah, and I agree with that plan. I think Brad, and again, like, I just don't, it's not even about Keon. It's just the fact of a wide receiver. And if he thinks Keon is so good, this generational talent you can't pass up on, then so be it. I guess, yeah, take him. I mean, Brad Hall, again, like, we have every right to trust this man. So I get that. But again, we talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown, all-pro, Jameson, he's rising. You want him to get touches. And then you bring in another guy you want to be an integral part of your offense. And you got Sam Laporta, who's going to demand 5 to 8 targets a game. It's like, it's just an awkward fit, like, to me. Like, Keon is not going to, I say this, and you need a guy that, if you draft him in the first round late, Not that it's not like he's a top 10 pick where you're feeding this man, but you're going to get him involved. Like he's a first round pick, get him out there. He's going to make some plays. And I just don't know with how this offense moves. You spread the ball around so much. Like I would rather have a defensive end who can come in right away. They need someone like that, or a corner. They need someone like that, or, somebody. And maybe I'm being a little ignorant with that, but that's how I feel.
Who moves the needle? That's where I'm at with the.
Yeah, and maybe they feel like Keon is again the generational talent who can move the needle and take us to the number one offense. Like, okay, you might have an argument there. It just doesn't make sense. I think you'd be happy with an Xavier Legette, Malachi Corley, whoever's there in the second round, which there'll be some Brennan Rice. I mean, at this point, I don't really care. I mean, I'll take a handful of guys. Yeah, I mean, I just don't know if Keon is that guy where I'm like, hey, Xavier Legette, Malachi Corley, Brennan Rice, get lost. Lad, get lost. We're rolling with Keon Coleman. Like, I don't know if the separation's that much. To me, not saying he won't be good, but I just don't think he's, again, Brian Thomas, or any of these guys.
He is a piece, and one of the things he's really good at is going high point in the ball and going up in the red zone and going you can throw him up the ball and he can go make a play on it, which is what you don't have right now. So that's to where the value for him. Yeah, that's something you do need, but at 29 might not be that play. And that's nothing against Keon too. I don't want people to think that, we don't think. Again, I think Keon has a very high ceiling. Is going to be very good in the NFL. It's just about, again, like the NFL when in the draft, it's about fit. It's about what works the best. What does your team need? Positional value, all of that comes into play. When you add all of that into it, maybe Keon isn't that guy at 29, but if you can get him a little bit later, he could be the guy.
I want to give a shout out here, Mike Reed. Thank you for the $5. We appreciate you. He says, bring in Gilmore and trade up for Quinyon Mitchell. So I can get with that, Mike, because now a weakness becomes a strength from last year. You get Quinyon and Stephon, Carlton Davis. Now we're not even blinking when it comes to the secondary. So I'm not even flinching. So I'm cool with that. Guys, I think we're all in lockstep here. The wide receiver thing, we all agree. No in the first round, please. No. If you want a guy,
I'm open for it. I'm not going to hate it as long as it's not Xavier Worthy. If it's Xavier Worthy, I'll lose my fucking mind. I might have to decompress for a good 36 hours after that.
Okay, that's fair. But I'm still against wide receiver. That's just in the first round.
Trusted Brad Holmes, brother.
Yeah, but it's I don't also want to be boop, 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 trust Brad. Fair, I gotta be I'm trying to be I don't want a wide receiver. If he does
Booner path, trust Brad.
Mike's eyes.
But again, does he know more than us? Absolutely. I'd prefer not in the first round. That's just where I'm at, guys.
It'd be a boring ass show because at this point, if you're just trust Brad. There's nothing. It's just what's Brad doing today? You know what I mean? Cool. It's we got to have our opinions about it. And
conversations can be had.
If we're proven wrong,
you can't just act like the man. I'm not gonna lie. I want to be called out by Brad. You know what? Fuck it. Call me out in your presser. I want it. I kind of want it. I want the I kind of want the shout out. I want Brad Holmes to be
kid with the lunch lady hair talking shit.
Dude,
even you
with that guy over there wearing a lunch net.
Yeah, you said Keon would be a bad pick. I was like, listen, Brad, I like the player. I just didn't like the fish. Shut up. You wanted. Hey, who'd you want? Kool-Aid McKinstry? Clown.
Yeah, Philly took him. Watch. Mom and Rod just cooking them.
Yeah. No, I mean, hey, they got Keely Ringo. They got over there too.
Hey, can we talk about something else in that mock draft too that's non-lines related? Can you pull up the last picks? Again, what the hell are they doing just sneaking Troy Franklin in the first round? What the hell is that about? They have the Chiefs taking him. Troy Franklin. And I'm one of those guys who's don't let the combine fool you, yada, yada, yada. You go back and you watch the Oregon's offense. He's arguably the number 2 wide receiver as far as talent on that team, and he's strictly a deep guy. The Chiefs, if they were to take Troy Franklin, fine, in the second or third round, he is not a first-round wide receiver in my opinion. The combine it wasn't even his times. It was physically watching him move and his mobility and his footworks. He can't
stumbled a lot. He stumbled a few times.
But to be real, if you're talking about developing wide receivers, if I'm talking about like, because it's not just quarterbacks when you talk about like landing spots are important. I think Troy Franklin with Kansas City might be good for him. You know, I think they could develop him. But yeah, I don't know if he's a first round pick, but yeah, I mean, we have to stop kind of relying on, not that you guys do this, but I even fall victim to this where we like rely on PFF, not you, Lucas, but just like general, like, oh, this guy typically goes in the second round. I think people do that a lot. The draft never applies. You know what I mean? It's just like if the Chiefs like Troy Franklin, like we can work with this guy, then they're going to take him.
My thought with that is last year, and when you were kind of talking about the Brad stuff too, Jeff, to where it's or I think it might have been Lucas, the Xavier Worthy, he'd be mad after. It's just I go back to like last year, we probably all three of us had conversations outside of doing a show or anything like that as well, that there was no chance that the Detroit Lions get Jahmyr Gibbs at 12. Like there was no chance, and it's just something that a good GM, they just know what to do and they know when the right time to take a guy. And we don't know. Maybe Troy Franklin is going to be really good with the Chiefs, or Keon Coleman could end up being, if the Lions take him, that's like a dude and he fits perfectly like Jahmyr fits into this team now.